Hi and welcome. My name is Ali Hart and I am the host of this podcast, and you're listening and watching How to Build a Creative Business in a Noisy World. I really hope you enjoy the episode. Today we have Suzie Arbuthnot with us, with me, and we are talking about really just all things creative, social media, family life, growing up, and it is really great to have my friend Suzie here. Hello.
Thank you very much for having me.
So people might know you as Suzie Cooking the Books.
Yep, or Suzie Lee now. It seems to be more of the title.
Oh, sorry, Suzie Lee Arbuthnot, I should be saying. Sorry, you're double-barreled.
No, well, I'm not really double barrel. It's just for people to really recognise me, because people go Suzie Arbuthnot and then they're like, is that not Suzie Lee? So there seems to be an identity thing. So we're trying to slip into Suzie Lee now for the professional cook scene.
Love it, absolutely. That's like me with mine was Ali McLaughlin Hart, and I sold paintings as that for a while, and then my first website was that, and I thought after a while, how do people, because people will be like, is it an O, is it an A, is it a heart with an E, or is it H-E-A? So Ali Hart, that's good. Suzie Lee's even better. Yeah, but Suzie, so would you like to introduce yourself, Suzie, a little bit about you in a few sentences?
Okay. So I am Suzie Lee Arbuthnot, my married name, but Suzie Lee. I am now known as the winner of BBC's Best Home Cook last year in 2020, to then go on to my own TV series for BBC NI, which was called Suzie Lee's Home Cook Heroes. And there might be something exciting coming on after that, but I can't talk about it just yet. But yes, so that is my alter ego. Actually a chartered accountant, still working. I have my own practice. Yes, I'm self-employed, so I'm a sole trader, but that's my bread and butter. But I love to dabble in the food.
Brilliant, nice summary there. And also a mum. Let's throw that into the mix too.
Yes, a mum of two, Xander, who is 6 in P2 and so glad to be back at school, and little Odie, or Odelia is her full name, and she is 3. She is a diva.
Yeah, I remember when Xander was tiny actually seeing you in a restaurant, and he was like in a high chair so long ago.
Oh, absolutely, in the hillside.
Because our husbands play hockey against each other, isn't that right? Or did they play together?
They were together.
Oh yes,
they were together. Don't forget all your tractor rides around Lisnagarvey.
I know. You see, my third boy's not into tractors, but my first 2 boys were very into.
Yes, Ali was running round and round the hockey pit, around the clubhouse, and you saw glimpses of her, and she's like, what was the score? What was the score?
And then I could never go back to that, I could never go back to that. But so Suzie, so then there's a few other links as well. Then Suzie's sister is very good friends with one of my best friends as well. So that's Veronica. And then just with you were in Wallace, weren't you? In the one school, and I was in the other school that was across the road. So it's lovely to be able to have you in the creative space at the minute and to see what you're doing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about growing up, just background?
Yeah, so come from a family of 5, so I'm number 4, so there's 3 girls above me, my 3 older sisters, then me, and then my little brother Tim. So as you can tell, they were trying for the air. So yeah, grew up in Balmacash in Lisburn, and yeah, family home's still there, and went to Balmacash Primary, and then changed over when all the big sisters started to go to Wallace, and my mum was just like, enough of the multiple school stops, so she shifted all of us to Wallace High and also the prep then. So I started the prep and P3, and I just loved it. I love school. I would have stayed there if I could have. It was just a really positive experience.
Okay.
And then in 5th year, I lost my mum very suddenly, and I have to say yet again, that school environment, the teachers and everybody around me were so supportive and just brilliant. Hence why I still have a really strong connection with Wallace. So yeah, that's kind of my kind of summary of my kind of teens.
Okay, great. And then you went on to do accountancy?
No, actually.
Oh, right.
Went on to, was meant to do, well, I didn't get my grades to go to Edinburgh. So I would have been a completely different person. I was meant to do sociology.
Wow.
Yeah, completely different. But then I went to Queen's and did food and nutrition.
Right.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a dietitian at one stage as well. I actually wanted to be a doctor, but didn't get those grades either. So my life was, because I was so confused. I lost mum at 5th year, and then I was just up, down, and just my head was all over the place, even though I thought I was in control. Looking back, I remember going, fine, I can do this, you know, and I was a straight A student, you know, and I was like, yeah, fine, I'll fall into place. Didn't really quite fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
Devastated when I got a D in one of my subjects. So yeah, life changed and I had to make different decisions then. So did food and nutrition for like half a year at Queen's and realized this is not quite me, and just the lectures and stuff, just it was the first year, so it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Then worked and even went back to Wallace to be a HE technician and biology technician in my spare
So
time.
interesting, right?
And then I got on to Queen's again to see what courses I could do. So then looked at finance. So I ended up doing economics and management as a joint honours degree.
Okay.
Loved it, absolutely loved it. So did the 3 years there and then went, I don't know what I want to do, but saying that, I did really well on obviously the MASI kind of economicsy kind of things, and the lectures did the careers. You had a careers teacher as well. They're like, accountancy, and I was like, no, not doing a boring accounting. They're like, your marks and your grades kind of show that your brain would be kind of suited, and I was like, absolutely no way. So then I did a postgrad in event management and PR.
Like you're just running, isn't it? You're like, no, I'm not going to do that.
So then there you go. So economics and management.
But that's exciting.
Event management and PR. Did a placement in King's Hall. Loved it. Would have got the job if they had known that I was good by the placement. So they had appointed me literally a week after they had got, technically I was filling in till this girl was free.
Okay.
And then when I worked for over like the 2 months before she was starting the next month, she was just, they were like, you do realize we were advertising this job, you would have been ideal. And I was like, it's okay.
And how old were you at this stage?
I was 22.
Okay. And then you kind of failed to mention that you had a family restaurant growing up. So you were obviously dealing with your sudden passing. Your sisters had left. They were all at university at this stage.
Yeah, so it was me and my brother. Me and my brother, 5th year, running a takeaway for a good wee while. I had my auntie and uncles there to kind of help out, but buck stopped kind of at me, you know, that kind of thing, you know, like.
And it's a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, Takeaway Manly in Lisburn, so it's still going really strong, but you know, it's now a blur, you know, like I got through those, and then my big sister finally came home from Aberdeen in September, and that's when normality kind of started, because my dad couldn't cope. And now looking back, he was 43, losing his soulmate, who was also 43, and you know, mum did everything for him. So like, you know,
so you were doing that, and then you were saying about, you know, your GCSEs and your A levels, like, so you were still busy and grieving and studying. So there's a lot of
things, and like, to be honest, I didn't get counselling, which I probably should have. I am hyper as a person anyway, and looking back, you know, I just kept doing more and more stuff, you know, hence why my personality has developed into this kind of manic kind of, I can't say no to anything, and it's just that kind of, I don't want to disappoint anyone. And I think I just felt at that stage that's the only way I could have kept, and that's what the expectation. And I think I just kept that, and there's been times I get burnt out and I have migraines and all that, and it's completely brought on by myself. But yeah, the grieving process is a strange one. You know, we've talked about another, you know, stories and stuff, and I completely relate. Like, just sometimes you're just hit with it and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, your loved one has missed so much, and you're like, my goodness, like, I'm an adult now, you know. And that's the thing, I think sometimes I still sit back and go, I'm still a kid.
I know. Well, I feel the same. Yes. So you obviously got to 23 then, and we're still busy and full and were you still working with the restaurant as well? And the restaurant as well?
25, I worked right up to 25. I was in there every weekend, you know, that kind of thing. And like at that stage, you know, it was just part of the norm. Go to uni, have other part-time jobs, you know, like I tried to make the best of it. I worked in the student union and the entertainment screen. It was so much fun. I did all of that. I had, you know, I look back and go, what the heck was I doing?
And playing hockey. You were probably playing hockey at the same
time. Playing hockey as well. So I was playing hockey for, it was Queen's, and then applied for Liston Garvey. And I'm just like, and I had my choir at, like, I was part of Belfast Philharmonic, and I was like, what? What? And I look back, and yes, my CV is literally 6 pages long. Giving it to a recruiter, they actually laughed their heads off. They're like, wow. And I was just like, that is actually a condensed version. This is the full one, but condensed. There's other stuff I've done, but I've kind of taken it away. But this is all the meaningful stuff.
And the events, then, do you find the PR and events, you're obviously, your brother, I remember you saying before with the restaurant, you were cooking as well, weren't you, in the back, but then also front of house? No, you were front of house?
Front of house. I would have been frying and packing and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that would have been, and like, I would have known how to make a few things like the fried rice and stuff like that. But no, I'm not.
But you knew how to greet people, meet people. I wonder if that all transferred from an early age. You were doing that.
Yeah. So literally from the age of 10, I was old enough and tall enough to see past the counter, and literally was able to serve customers. And do you know what a life skill, life skill at the age of 10 to be speaking to adults and not be afraid. Do you know what I mean? I have to say, I am so grateful for that kind of upbringing, genuinely. Very working class background, but being able to give those communication skills, which I think we're starting to lose with young ones.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With our lovely tablets and all that kind of stuff, you're just like, I wasn't afraid to speak to adults. And I think that's what spurred me on to being a kind of confident person. I think it shows in all 5 of us siblings. We're quite confident talking to people. And I just was like, thank you to my parents who obviously there was no other choice because we were the staff.
Yes.
What a brilliant way to then enter in the future, the working world, to not be afraid to speak up in meetings or to be engaged in different.
Or just to order food. We always tried that with the boys. When you go to the butchers, getting them to ask for what they want, or when they're in restaurants, from an early age.
Food.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, and it's just those in that, we're just slipping. We're slipping from that kind of giving them slightly more independence. Walking to the shop on your own.
Yeah. Well, your work ethic was obviously there. It's kind of inbuilt in you. And then whenever you got the PR and the events and that job then went to the other person, what did you feel at a loss, or were you just like, what's the next project?
Yeah, no, I did feel like a loss. So then I had to apply for other stuff. So I ended up doing a graduate scheme through Invest NI.
Okay.
Landed myself with a lovely lady who was called Mary Heatley, and she was very influential. So I have to say, she helped me with my personality, the bits that I was flapping about. She is a soft skills trainer, and she's her business called Mind Associates, and she is one of those ladies who literally walks into a room, commands it, and she teaches people how to be resilient, change management, and just all those soft skills. So she works with a lot of CEOs, directors and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to see her work, because she's really down to earth, a lady from Arbo, but just when she goes into a room, she just has control, and people just watch her, and she's really articulate. And she broke down a lot of things that I thought I was okay, as a person and being professional and stuff. And she hated me saying no problem. She says, that's wrong. You do not say no problem. There's no negative there. You say it in just like, grand, I will do that for you, and all that kind of positive language. And she is all about The Secret. If you've ever read that amazing book, it's all about channeling positive kind of energy. It's brilliant. So like she would have said, like, read it, and I loved it. So her things is just as simple as focusing and sort of visualizing there is a parking space. There's a parking space.
Totally, your parking angel. Yes.
And then she's like, and it works. Like, generally for me, it has worked. All my friends laugh their heads off. It's just like, just you visualize it or whatever you want to do. And she's all about that. So that for me, she really helped me repair. Maybe she was my counselor. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt you there. Just in terms of giving value to the people that are listening too. I said to Sharon, who works for me this year, we're going to try not to say sorry as much. We're quite a sorry nation. But you have to really think about other ways. You're like, thank you for your rather than saying, sorry, this is happening. Like, thank you for your patience while we deal with this. Thank you for your. So that's we're talking about no problem, trying to take no out of your language and positive thinking.
So she hated me saying sorry as well. It's like,
yeah,
are you sorry about us Northern Irish people? We're just apologetic about everything.
And did you then, when you were doing the course with that, was that linked with events as well? You're saying she was training.
Yeah, well, she came in to train us on soft skills.
Okay.
And we did this is a crazy story, but we did those personality tests.
Great, yeah.
Right? So we did the Bellman, we did the, I can't remember, Myers-Briggs. And we did another one which was about colours, quadrants. Have you ever done that one?
I need to do that one.
It's a really fascinating one. So it's like 100 questions, but there's like a blue, yellow, green, red quadrant. So it's literally in a square. So literally whatever you answer, you will be dotted in, whatever kind of bit. And some people would go more blue, and that means you're more mathematical, you're into like sciencey jobs and nerdy kind of things. And I think red was creative, and this the polar opposite. So you can get a blend of those depending on what you answer. I was pretty much equal in all of them, and she was just like, apart from me, I haven't actually met someone else who is measured like that. And you should have seen her. And then she was just like, and she sat down and spoke to me, and I just thought, and I'm chatty. I was just chatting away to her, and she was just trying to see my background and all that kind of stuff. And she goes, "Here's my business card, and give me a wee email." So then I did, and then she said she'd like to meet me. So she met me with one of her, people, that her sidekicks, who was very high up in the civil service, to scout me out. And supposedly, obviously, I did kind of well, so she hired me. So I didn't actually ever saw that graduate scheme. And it was kind of, so I became her business development manager. I was her business manager.
Wow.
At the age of 23 and a half, nearly 24. But I changed her from a sole trader to a limited company. I learned, I just did it. Do you know what I mean? I can't really remember the steps, but I was able to change her to that, set up her finance system. And it was only at that stage where I was like, I really enjoy this.
Right.
We had another wee staff member because she was flying back and forth from England. And that's when I said to her, I kind of think, and I said, but I think I should go and get the proper graduate scheme training, for an accountancy. And she goes, yeah, I think you'd be really good at that. So it was kind of like it was really nice. But then, boy, was that a shock to the system when you get an $8,000 pay drop.
I know. Imagine, yeah.
So yeah, change cars and literally living on the breadline completely. It sounds really drastic, but seriously. So at the age of 25, I entered the graduate scheme as an accountancy person with children.
Yeah, wow.
With whippersnappers who just came out of university, and I was the granny. Who was,
wow. So when was this? This was like, wow. Yeah.
It's really crazy to then think back. I'm 37, 12 years ago, I embarked on a completely life-altering kind of path to go, having faith, literally going, this is going to lead to the greater good, and I can do this, knowing that financially it was kind of just suicide. But
you constantly have exams with accountancy too, don't you? They're never ending.
Horrendous. And they are, Google it. It is one of the most hardest qualifications to get, and it was chartered. Do you know what I mean? So it was literally get it or not get it, So yeah, it was crazy. So then I worked in audit for 2.5 years and realized I am not an auditor. I talk too much.
Cannot think of worse, Suzie, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love having the bands, and that it made me a good auditor that way, because I was really inquisitive, and they liked that I was able to probe and all that kind of stuff. But then I really liked doing analysis work and stuff. So then I was seconded for a wee while, but I wasn't allowed to go there. So then I just kind of made the decision, if I'm going to be blocked for not being able to move, I'm going to have to find somewhere else. So I went into industry then. I was really lucky, got offered 2 jobs and became a management accountant. And so kind of have not looked back since. So was in a childcare service provider, one of the largest in UK, so managed different companies for them. Then I went into stock market linked company, amazing company, any hospital beds that you've been on or chairs, Arjo Huntley, brilliant company, but nearly ended our marriage because I was working till 10:30 pretty much every night. Not good. Luckily I didn't have kids at that stage, but just I knew that wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted Do you know what I mean? So then I got into a charity, which was lovely and more balanced hours and stuff like that. But then the executive sort of melted down, so funding stopped.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
So then
yes.
redundancies were made, and I just had to make that difficult decision. And I was pregnant as well. So it was
Okay.
just one of those things where step away, completely step away. And then I worked for a haulage company as an accountant, and then I decided, you know what, I'm getting bored now, I need to jump back into the fire, and went back into practice. The amount of people who are like, what are you doing? Because people usually go to practice and leave it and never go back, and I just like, I'll go back.
And that means, what does that mean?
So that means going back into practice means like someone you would hire, like literally go do my accounts please, you know, just back into just doing day-to-day kind of accountancy stuff.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted the challenge to kind of just go, I want the breadth again, because I was doing very much just one company. I wanted to do lots of companies again, and you know, and see lots of different kind of businesses. So yeah, the practice called PGR Accountants, and I have to say they've been great to me. Like I had my second little one there too, well not there too, second one, and then I decided after 5 months I couldn't balance it. I couldn't be the mummy and be the full-blown working employee and give it my all, because they wanted a 5-day week for me, and I was like, I can't. I need to be with my babies 2 days a week. I just genuinely need to just feel slightly less guilty that I'm working, you know, but need to earn money. So I decided, no, I'm going to take a step away and literally take that leap. I was very lucky, and my clients wanted me, so my bosses contacted me and just said, will you work as a kind of contractor? And I was like, yes.
That's great.
Thank you. But then in all of that, I had applied for the best home cook.
I was going to say, so where does so cooking's clearly ongoing in your life, like same with them. I was talking about your sister Veronica, like you all have like a flair, and it's very cool, who I know of the family. So that was probably part of your life anyway, cooking, creativity.
Like it was just there, and like I would always cook and always bake and all that kind of stuff. So when I started this in the accountancy practice, I had actually applied for the bake-off, so I was reserve. So I was first reserve, ready to go on for if anybody cancelled, but it didn't. So I have lovely signed books from Prue Leith and from Paul Hollywood, which were class, but I never got on. I was devastated. But then a friend then said, what about this program? So then there was only one season of it, and I was like, I think I'd give this a go. And I'd applied for it in October, and I handed in my notice before then. Did I do that? Yeah, no, I literally, like, I hadn't intentionally, you know, expected anything. I was just applying.
Because you apply for that and then you were over there for filming, isn't that right?
Yeah, so therefore I went for, well, the actual filming started in the March of 2019. So I handed my notice in 2018. Leap of faith, on the last day of working, which was the last day of tax season on the 31st of January, I got a phone call to say, you are one of our contestants. So it was like literally the best day. I feel really bad because my old boss still feels really like awful. He's just like, I can't believe you're celebrating and leaving us. And so yeah, no, I was a weird day, because it was just like trying to close off accountancy and then knowing that I'm about to embark on something quite exciting and completely unknown.
And tell me this is probably a really good time to ask this question. Now that people have listened to you and heard your like story and how you deliver, well, we both know that we're crazy in the best way, but fear. What I think with that is, whoa, like clearly, I'm sure you had fear, but you seem more excited than you were petrified of that. Were you just like, this is the next, like?
Yeah, like fear doesn't. I don't really think I wouldn't say I'm fearless.
Yeah.
I just see it as pretty much as like, if you say I can't do it, I'm going to completely show you I can do it. Like, I'm just that person who is so stubborn to the point where so many points in my life, people are like, why are you even putting the effort in? Or it's not worth it, or you can't do it. Like, you know, the amount of people who, like, it took me 8 years to get my accountancy exams. Like 8 years is the maximum time you're allowed to do it. But I got married. We got our house. We have 2 children. We have our dog. We have our cats. We literally have everything that I wanted, you know. and I still got my exams, but the amount of people, because I did fail absolutely, but I was doing too much. When I look back on it, I was doing way too much, and then trying to sit exams, and people.
But you got there.
People were like, I don't think you can do this, or should you not give up? I think it's time to just, and I was like, no. So it's that has made me, so many of those people have really tried to break me to the point where it's like, just watch, I'm going to prove you wrong. So that's where fear, no, I get excited because it's a new challenge. And that's what I say. Anything that people says, oh, then I go, no, I'm fine. That's a challenge. That's mine.
And obviously your confidence in the, so what did you have to do for the application process? Or have you talked, is this boring? Do you not want to talk about this type of thing? Was it, okay. When you think, have you talked a lot? No. So because I'm talking essentially creatives, the path's never straightforward, and this is what's the beautiful thing listening to you. So
maybe that, it is quite a nice kind of story, because then it made me realize I really wanted this. Because so the first thing was just a paper application, and it asked you when you started cooking, why you started cooking, and that started to bring up loads of memories. I was like, yeah. I love cooking. And like the end goal for me after retirement, after accountancy, was to open my own coffee shop.
Right.
Genuinely. Yeah. That is my.
You're on the fast track to that now, Suzie.
Oh, I hope. And literally just potter around and just literally chat to people and just enjoy nice life and exchanges with people. That's what I love. So a paper interview, and then I got a phone interview, and then they probed more about the questions and just, why and what makes you want to cook and want to bake. And I was kind of like, it was quite interesting, because it was just like, yeah, I really do love doing this. And, is it all the time? I'm like, yeah, I literally would happily just cook 24/7, and that is me switching off. And that's why I think it's quite natural to me, because I do it anyway. And I just get in the zone, and I never find cooking stressful. It's kind of one of those things where it is my de-stress zone. And then I love then teaching people, that. So yeah, I got to do that. And then they came over and said, bring a sweet and a savory dish, but obviously can eat at room temperature, because they were just trying to, and then made me stand in front of a camera for 15 minutes just talking. And they just said, yeah, you can talk. I took that as a compliment. I was like, is that enough? And they're like, yeah, that's enough. And then I flew to London on it was like the 7th of January, and it was amazing, because then I got to do pretty much 3 stages live with 5 other people in a cookery school. It was like amazing. And it was boom, 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 and like you're given eggs, eggs hollandaise to make from scratch, and literally you had 2 eggs. So I actually made scrambled eggs with the hollandaise for the first one, and I nearly died. You should have seen the face, and I'm sure whenever there was a camera on me, and I literally went fluorescent red. They're like, how are you going to resolve this, and what are we going to do now? Are you going to give up? I was like, nope. I've got 1 egg, and it's the best poached egg you're going to taste, and now I'm going to make the hollandaise. And then it did work, when you're just like,
brilliant. But that's skills. That's where I think being a creative, it's like what you're good at, like you can pull it back. And I feel when I'm teaching students with paint and whatever, people are petrified, even just on the one-off workshops that I do. And I just tell people, like, just commit to it, and you can always go over it. You can always fix it.
Yeah.
But maybe not with cooking. I don't find that with cooking, but
that's the thing. It's exactly the same. It's just like, if you added too much of that, then it's just like you can counterbalance it. Obviously, there's only so much sweet, like the salt that you balance with sugar.
Yes.
But there's things that, like, if you've pushed the flavor too much, say you have a minced kind of base, if you've pushed it too much with like a spicy seasoning, then go for that. Then don't make it the mild one, make it something else, or change it up. Then it's sometimes I think when you start out, I'm sure with the painting, you're wanting something like that, but actually you end up probably adding more color and more kind of like definition, and you're like, oh, this has worked out differently than what I expected, but I'm liking it.
And so that the journey, then the great thing is you won, woohoo! But you knew this for about a year. Like, how long did we know this before you could?
9 months.
You couldn't tell anybody.
No, so literally emotional roller coaster for literally kind of like going into accountancy places, going, yeah, I'm just a boring accountant. I would always bring bakes. That's the thing. They always, what accountant brings you baked goods or food, you know? And I was just like, I just love baking. So
Yeah.
like, you know, that's what I'm known for, like pretty much the baking accountant, you know, I just go around handing out food. To not be able to say, I'm not bad at this. I'm
Yeah.
actually okay at this.
But it's not, it probably is quite good because we're similarly wired. I'm not, by no means, numbers are not my friend, but our personalities, that like we kind of thrive on the high energy. It's probably a really good discipline to have to have been so quiet about that.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah, well, I would think for me too. And it's like, is it like whenever you're when you're pregnant, you can't tell anybody? It's like your own little secret. So you're in Stevie's secret. Was it like yours and your?
And it was awful because it's just kind of, I could kind of tell them, couldn't I? And like
Yeah.
it was Stevie who kept me on the straight and I was like, no, you know this will go really wrong. You cannot. You have signed the amount of NDAs you've signed, the non-disclosures. You need to keep quiet. So it's not worth it. It's not that long. And because he's very disciplined, and I'm just like, oh, I want to tell people. I want to share this information. And he goes, Suze, it's not fun then. It's not fun.
And tell me then as well about so it was great. It was great to see you and you had friends and family together. And that was just before all of the COVID, everything. Yeah. But for me looking in, it's been really cool to see how that was kind of all you needed for us to, the camera, you worked well with the camera, which I know anyway. The fact that you can like talk and explain what you're doing and not get like over flustered, like all of those, because people can be good cooks but never come to the forefront with it. Whereas like all those skills of meeting people as a 10-year-old just above the counter, and then you know you're the HR, the PR, sorry, all of that, like the you know the maybe failing exams but then overcoming. It's like all of a sudden, I don't know, it's just been really cool to see like blossom or bloom and take on the challenge, because obviously as you said, challenge is one thing, but seeing like TV companies and people having confidence in you is also really great.
Yeah, no, I think that's where I kind of go, okay, I can maybe do this. And like the production company called Waddell's were the one who did series 1 for Suzie Lee's Home Cooked Heroes, and they're just like, I know they wanted obviously to hire me, but they're like, no, we obviously wanted to hire you for a reason, because you're actually really engaging and all. Yeah. You're really warm on the camera, and you're not annoying. Yeah. They're just like, you know, you actually want to help people. You're not sort of saying, here's a really high level dish, but you're never going to make it home. It looks beautiful, but you know, where you're trying to make it that everybody can access it and make it at home and make it their own, and you make it feel that it's doable. Yeah. It's like, well, I suppose that is what I'm trying to do. I would never.
And isn't it cool as well? Like, it's like me whenever last night, like when prints sell, I can't believe that people do think of my work for them. I'm sure you're the same. You know, because I'm texting you about my friend and my sister-in-law who are using your recipes. It never gets old. Sure, it doesn't. It's really exciting that people consider that over anything. They could choose anybody else.
I know, but that's the thing. And you can't.
Isn't it great?
You're like, me? You're like, no, you're talking about that person. And it's just like, no, you know, really like your stuff. And you're like, do you? Do you really?
But that's from working hard too, and we're talking about it off air there as well, about you give a lot of value and you're very generous with that, and that has really helped. I think I always talk about give without expectation. So it's like teaching, but not, you know, if no one ever buys my prints, I'll have to rest easy with that. That's good that I've helped someone in some way, and I can see that with you with the recipes. It's like giving and knowing that you've helped them in their weekly. How do you feel about all of that? Is that just very natural? I think it's quite natural, it seems to you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the recipes are out there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not giving away any trade secrets, but I'm trying to cook it in a way that people go, is that all I have to do?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think especially on how people write a recipe out for people to follow, it can get so confusing, because like, you know, I've grown up with looking at cookbooks, and there's some ones I'm like, that doesn't even make sense, or that doesn't work. And it's just to be able to strip back and go, that makes sense, and this is what we need to do, and making it completely a package that people can digest easily and just use, and be a completely dummy guide to cooking. that's what I kind of like, just want to hope that I can pass on, because some of the people I've heard were like, I don't cook, I can't cook. And I was like, there's no such thing as you can't cook. It's all about practice. It is literally like riding a bike. Genuinely, it's just whether you're passionate about it or not.
Yeah.
I
think some people are not great cooks, but that's maybe me. Maybe.
Yeah,
or like, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like my Michael, you know, if you give him a dish, but you'll have that dish all the time from him. You know, it's not really his. It's not inbuilt in him. But no, I do know. Sorry, I take that back. I always say I could teach anybody how to paint too, but I get it. Some people maybe just don't have the flair.
Yes, there's just something else for some people, but
if people practice, they'll still get to know how to cook.
Exactly. That's for me. I just sort of think, because there's people who are just like, no, I'll just go for convenience, or and I'm like, you do realize, you know, you've just paid quadruple to what the ingredients and then the amount you would have got for making that.
Well, you and so Suzie, I joined Suzie on her live on Saturday, and we cooked beef steak tacos, soft tacos, and we made those from scratch, and that was really great to be able to do that. Is there a rest? Are there? So obviously your Chinese upbringing, is that where you find it's the most ease, or do you just feel like you're excited by all?
I'm excited by all. Like, that's the thing, because like, you will never find the same dish being cooked in my house for at least 3-4 weeks, you know, that kind of thing. It changes all the time, and I get bored. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I couldn't eat spag bol every week, you know what I mean, as much as my hubby would, because it was
my Michael would. That's his standard.
You know, it's like a hockey thing. Tuesday night spag bol night, and I'm like, oh,
there's a Tuesday night often here as well.
It's like, eat it yourself. I couldn't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? Whereas then I'm like, right, I'll make it into lasagna, or I'll make it into cannoli, or, you know, and it's things like that then excite me, that I want to change it up. But are your
kids good eaters?
Really good eaters. I'm really lucky. I'm just really, really, do you know, when you're not given the choice, but it's not even luck. Genuinely, actually, I'm going to change my phrasing. It is not luck about your children eating well or, you know, good. If you don't give them the choice, they have no choice.
I know.
You know, kids develop their taste buds through you as as the adults. No, but do you know what I mean? It's what you feed them. And yes, there is that barrier at 2. 2 is the trickiest point. The amount of books I have read about managing that age group, that they don't completely switch off the stuff. You know, a really well fed, you know, rounded taste baby who's had a really good palate, to then change to beige. It's because they're developing, so therefore you need to manage that on the way through. And therefore it is that whole taste 10 times before they like it. It's the same with an adult. So you kind of go, oh, I don't like it, but it's just like, do you not, or is it just because it's different? So you do it 10 times at least, and this is my mantra, 10 times at least, and then 3 days in a row kind of thing. And people think I'm psycho, but for me it has worked. And it's just like, this is what mommy and daddy are eating, and this is what you're having. Exactly. That's
brilliant.
You know, there's no kids meals. There's no kids meals. And yes, we love fish fingers and potato waffles and all that kind of stuff, but they see that as a treat. That's not our normal thing, you know. They have all their veg, but I wouldn't say it's luck. It's just perseverance
and consistency.
Consistency. And I think some people just think, how do you do it? I don't do it. I'm just learning from the way my mum and dad did it. We had no choice. And back then, if you left your food, goodness, it was the end of the world, saying that there was no food to be left at our house because there were 5 of us, and we literally were like, whoever's the quickest.
I can imagine,
but I kind of just sort of think, we're just, you know, there's no other countries really that have kids meals. You know, let's put it.
I know it is the West.
Go to other countries, there's no such thing as a kids meal on a menu going out. They just have exactly what everybody else is having, but just a smaller portion. So I know I digress, but I think that's so important.
No, I think that's great. It is really important. And would you say, for at the minute, so lockdown, cooking, being able to put yourself out, would there be something at the minute that you would recommend people to keep their diet? You're talking about your nutrition as well that you studied. Is there, like, so for me, I listened to a podcast. Anyway, he's a doctor's GP, and he had someone on, and they were talking about eating, basically just like don't give your kids stuff that's in a packet, you know. And even just today, this morning, Michael and I had a conversation, and he was doing dinner last night because I was at work, and I was like, I left you sweet corn and peppers and all the other things to have with the kids. There's the kids to have in salad, but they just had carrots. He's like, oh, fair point. But is there something that you would recommend people? I try to like increase my greens, or what would you say at the minute is like an easy?
Yeah, like I mean, like the thing is, you're always going to have like carrots knocking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what I laugh at people when they see me trying to feed them like broccoli stalks and all that kind of stuff. People are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Broccoli stalk. You can still eat it.
Yeah.
You
We have
can
that
still eat that."
conversation quite a lot.
And then the same with cauliflower stalks and leaves. And I remember this years ago, a couple of people like had just left them. I was like, "What's wrong with that?" And they felt obviously under pressure to then eat it. But I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with that. It tastes exactly the same. It just
Oh,
aesthetically doesn't look like the
okay.
broccoli head or whatever.
Well, the cauliflower is the one that's fascinating me here.
Yeah, so then the cauliflower, the leaves, all I do is just like I made it last night actually. So that's like my hidden veg mac and cheese. And literally I steam whatever veg you have. So broccoli stalks, cauliflower leaves, cauliflower, broccoli, whatever I have, carrots, onions, steam them for literally 10, 15 minutes max if you had cut them really thick. So 10 minutes and they're just soft. That's the base of your sauce.
Okay.
And literally you fry off like a roux, like so you can fry off your
Yeah.
onions then if you don't want to steam them, onions, and then you make like a white sauce. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Put in your veg, so that's got a liquid, and blitz the life out of it. And then layer on as much or as little cheese, and then I bake it with a really crunchy top, and there you go. And you can add bacon to it, you can add whatever.
Amazing. That's a great one.
But it's a real comfort food thing, but actually you've shoved in 4 or 5 veg without anybody knowing. But my kids are happy to eat it with the lumps anyway, but like it just feels like you're being really naughty, but actually no, it's you were pretty good actually.
That is brilliant.
It's just like I hate waste. I genuinely hate waste.
Yeah.
And like, we will have a couple of nights where we have literally leftover central. So literally bits and pieces like that.
We
Kids,
do that. Yeah, kids like that too.
he's just like, what are we doing now? And I'm just like, it's the beauty. And we just dig out stuff from the freezer. He goes, how long has that been in there? 19 days. It's just like, eat it.
That's fine. It's been frozen. And just quickly then, do you, because I know you're busy as well, do you, social media? It's obviously where platforms, so it's where I've essentially grown my business. I can see it's where you've grown your profile as well as obviously the TV appearances. But how do you feel about it? Do you have a schedule with that, or are you kind of ad hoc?
Yeah, no, I have to say, really lucky. Hubby taught me everything I knew about social media. Like, see, at the start of lockdown, look at my photos. I'm happy to admit that.
Yeah.
They were not good. Just not good. And I just didn't know about angles and just shots. I just didn't know. I don't really understand all that. I'm an accountant.
Yes.
I need to look at that creative side. I'm happy to cook the food, always forget to take photos because it's in.
Yeah.
So it's strange, and now to then be living this lifestyle, it's like, don't eat it yet, I need to take a photo. Whereas I shouted at people at restaurants, I literally
made fun of them. Yeah.
It's like, eat your food. Why are you taking a photo of it? And there I am. I'm that lunatic now who's taking.
Well, slightly different. You're not at restaurants like bragging about where you are. You're like, this is a photo of food that I've made, and I'm going to teach you how to make it. So slightly different.
There's that. Okay, there is that too. But yeah, no, it's a weird beast. Social media is a good and a bad thing. There's the positives of being able to grow my profile and reaching out to people that in America, in Canada, in New Zealand. Like, I'm getting so many lovely messages that people are now watching Best Home Cook, and they're like, we just saw you one.
Super.
And it's lovely. And then people are like, I've just Googled you and there's recipes. I'm going to try that now because it looks so good. And you're like, wow. So someone in New Zealand has been making like my roast chicken dinner and they won't make it any other way now. I'm like, wow, like that.
I was so happy to see you turn mine. I learned that with the turkey. First turkey I did, turning it upside down, and we do that too. So I was excited to see that whenever you did that first.
That's what I've always done. So it's amazing. And yeah, so just that. But then you get the negativity because people think that is a platform where it's freedom of speech.
Everyone has a voice. Yeah.
Everyone has a voice, and they never think words are sharp. And just like, being kind is so much more than, just, I don't know. I know people like a reaction, but it's just like, think back and think, would you like that said to you? Would you
I
like
know.
to be treated like that? Especially when they have not done anything to you.
Yes, or you yes, exactly. I my worst experience really was actually not even related to my art when I had COVID, and I had made a blog post about having COVID. It was a blog post about having showers because I didn't
Oh
I was
yes,
so
I saw that.
frail and everything. And then the media picked up on this, so they said like we'd love to interview you, blah blah blah. So I was really specific about things that I didn't really want to talk about, but I was happy to talk about how pathetic, not pathetic, how grim COVID was because it was horrendous. And I was in any twice, and my heart took months and months to even just like get back into rhythm. Not cool. So I was happy to talk about this. And so then it was picked up in, like you're talking about, in New Zealand, World News, Glasgow News, all these platforms. And there was one, was the worst, was Belfast Live, which is like a really good forum here for like finding stuff out. But theirs was lovely. It was just the normal post, but the comments. So there was like 600 comments and people just like ripping into, she's never had the flu obviously before. Look at the state of her. And I just thought, wow. But then it becomes less about you. I don't know if you can feel that way. Like people are sharp at that, but you have to kind of think, I'm just going to let that, they can't be talked to anyway. But it is very sad that
It's just hard. I think
Mhm.
it's hard to then accept that that is a norm as well. I think I find it sad.
Someone sitting on their Sunday, just they're like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's thing, and I think it's just sad that it has been an acceptable piece of behavior. I think it's just like, how have we normalized this as well, that people can be nasty and because they're hiding behind a device or a computer that it's okay. And I do get angry about that, and like
Mhm.
if I could genuinely, not need social media as much, I would genuinely, but we're in COVID, so this is the only way people can see my recipes or learn about me. And then you'll get people who are like, oh, what does she care? Or like, sure, she's got money or whatever. She's like, I've worked bloody hard. I'm
I
a
know.
consultant.
And people will always project onto you. I think there's Gary Vee I listen to as well. I don't know if you've heard of him. You probably quite like him. And he is marketing guru. And he basically said, once you get to the stage, you genuinely don't care, or that you welcome all of that. You're like, yeah, that's fine. All that, because you're more comfortable. You don't care whether they say they like you or they don't like you. So like you're not pulled by one, one doesn't make you feel. So he's like, I am who I am type of thing. But
Okay, I think
yeah,
it's
it
a
is
long way
definitely,
to go.
it is the beast. I know. But I
It's a
think
long way
that's
to
as
go.
well whenever I wonder, I know we don't really have time, but I wonder as well, the more I get to know myself, I wonder if the loss of the parent is one of the reasons I want to be an achiever as well, and you want to please people.
Absolutely. I
That
think
like,
that's a massive thing, because you never had that end goal of knowing.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You never got to the stage where you're at now for them to say, well done. You know what I mean? And like
yeah,
when I talk about it, it's just like, yeah, there's a big void there, and you feel it going, they would have loved to seen this, and you're just like, oh.
yeah. I feel that too. And even I was just speaking to my mum last night because I got some bad news, not from about myself. And I was speaking to my mum about, dad near the end, because dad they're told basically in January that he wasn't going to survive. And it was in April that he died. But I said to mum, like, how did you even find joy in every day? And she doesn't, she's always been very positive. And she said, like, I just kept going for you. But she did say to me last night, it was a struggle. And you do think like that, like, so then I think, no one has it straightforward. So whether it's grief, but I do wonder about the kind of achieving side. I'm sure there's a psychoanalysis
No,
somewhere.
I would say there's a massive thing there. There's a
But
complete.
then there's another side to it, is in that I'm thankful that I'm so driven.
Yeah, no, and that's it. And like, I think that's a word we can both use happily for ourselves. We are driven, and there's a purpose to it. You know what I mean? And we have our families, and it's for that greater good, and to hopefully our product is gonna, like, people enjoy it at the end, and that, I think, that brings us happiness. But yeah, it does still boil down to that appreciation, kind of like achieving, is it good enough, have I got there yet? And maybe that's what will keep propelling us, because
Mhm.
we will never reach it, and we
True.
will keep trying to push and push and push and push.
I quite like as well thinking about you. We'll end on this, but you can tell me what you're reading too if you've time to read a book. But when I think about art, people say to me, "What does he want? Like, what do you want from this?" I said, I wanted people to sit around the table and my art to be on the wall. I want it to be a conversation starter. I want it to be a memory. I want it to be something that they talk about, and I love that. I get to see that. And I guess that's very similar. Literally around the table eating your
and that's it. That's all. Chinese culture is pretty much family and food, and that's all I've ever, and it boils back down to that. At 16, my whole family life got thrown up in the air. There was none of that. It took about a year or so. Then my auntie, who lives next door, to then try to resume a Monday night, which was then what my mum did, cook for everybody, and everybody sat around a table, and I was really thankful for that. But that's what I want now. I want my family to be able to sit down and just enjoy it, and that's what I want other people to just switch off. That's the time when you need to engage with your family, to just go, how was your day, and just be there, be present. About all the crap that has happened, but just your wee family unit or your wider family, your friends, do you know what I mean? And just sit down and break bread. Do that. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And especially now in lockdown, because I did say that to our boys last week. I'm really thankful. We are definitely good at our dinner. Maybe our youngest is a different league, but he always is like, I want a TV dinner. But the big two never really seem to argue for that. We enjoy our dinner times together.
Exactly, and we do too, and it's just a laugh, you know what I mean? It's just funny what's going through their little brains and just what they come out with, and you're like, okay. And then because we only have one TV in the house, so therefore it's limited on when or what they can watch or whatever, so we have a lot of story time, there's a lot of play and stuff like that. So just, I have no idea where their imagination is coming from, but some things you're just like, okay. So it's the dinosaur was cooking something and making it for the Lego and just these stories,
isn't it? Yeah.
And it's great.
Whereas devices, they're sucked in. I try to say that to boys, I'm like, I want you to be outward, not to be sucked inward. But on that note as well, just we'll end there. Are you reading anything, or is there a cookbook that you are conjuring up?
The potential cookbook is kind of out there to publishers. Brilliant. Whether someone snaps it up, I would love it to be published, and then I can really focus on that. Reading, I love reading books, I genuinely do, but the past, and I think maybe that has been a bit hard for me, because I used to read at least half an hour before bed every night, but from December I actually, and my sleep has been up and down. COVID hasn't really helped. My brain is just going, it's like, what can I do next, or what can I do to earn money, or how can I get to the next stage? And so my sleep has been quite interrupted. But when I read a book, there's no putting it down. I'm really bad. That's my personality. It's very addictive, and I will sit. You could find me.
That's me too. If I love a book,
till 4 a.m. So knowing all the accountancy work, all the tax returns, all the food stuff I need to do, I knew if I picked up a book, end of something would have to give. Do you know what I mean? So there's a list, I don't know, a mile high of books that people have recommended, which I really want to read, but I just haven't had time. And you'll
get there.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much. It has been wonderful. It's really been great to have you. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Suzie Cooking the Books, and everybody laughs. Yes, I am an accountant. I'm not actually cooking the books, but it's just a pun in a sense.
And I've never realised.
Are you serious?
Of course I'm serious, because I'm a disaster. I'm so slow to the table all the time. And you know what? I can't wait to tell Elijah, my oldest, that, because he only knows you as Suzie Cooking the Books. Suzie Cooking the Books. There you go.
So cooking the books. But
you could do a full live on that.
Absolutely. And people be questioning, going, are you a dodgy accountant?
No, I'm not. Sorry. So Suzie Cooking the Books on Instagram.
And then Suzie Lee Cooks on YouTube and on Facebook. So that's where you'll find me. And I do have a website, which is all linked to all of that. But there's the beast of social media and the internet,
Brilliant. Well, you're easy to find, and it'll be great to hear other people following now and along with your recipes. But thank you, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
And no doubt I'll have you back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the episode, I would really appreciate some feedback, or for you to hit subscribe so that you get all the content every week in your inbox. And if you would like to check out my website, it's alihart.com, especially if you were thinking about needing some mentoring sessions, because I have openings coming up in the summer. Thanks for watching and listening, and I will see you on the other side.